Thank you all for being here today as we witnessed a wonderful couple getting married today. Stephanie and Dan are truly one of the most inspirational couples I have ever met. They are both kind to one another and are hilarious. Hello everyone, my name is Jessica Zalaski and I am Stephanie's sister and her maid of honor. I have looked up to Stephanie my entire life, not only because I am her younger sister, but she has such a great outlook on life. I am so glad she has finally met the man she wants to spend the rest of her life with. Why don't we start with how Stephanie and Dan met? I remember this was right after my 21st birthday. Stephanie was newly single and feeling adventurous. Stephanie and Dan met on an online dating website. I remember her showing me his picture and said how he loved motorcycles. He was also 28 at the time, which I was glad because Stephanie needed a more mature boyfriend. Funny thing is, Dan is such a goofball you wouldn't even think he is now 30. However, Stephanie really needed someone who can make her laugh even when she wants to rip his head off, and that is Dan. What was really admirable about Dan was how he always drove an hour just to see Stephanie. Driving from Rochester to Lockport and back at least once a week would be miserable for me. But it was clear that Stephanie and Dan were in love and would do anything to see each other. It wasn't long before Dan decided to move in with us. I'm not gonna lie, I was really not looking forward to Dan and his dog moving in. No offense to Dan, but our house is pretty small for 5 adults, 5 dogs, and 2 cats. However, this gave me the perfect opportunity to get to know Dan better. Dan seemed to be very responsible and helped Stephanie through some emotional times in her life. I knew Stephanie wanted to spend the rest of her life with Dan when she would talk to me about one day having kids with him. If any of you know Stephanie, she is not one to joke about having kids. Whenever Stephanie is around kids, her eyes light up. Dan was very set on having kids soon after they get married, so let's hope this honeymoon goes well. Now that Stephanie and Dan have been living together for quite some time, I think they know they are with the right person. They have had many highs, and definitely some lows, but they are still as happy as ever. I want to thank you all again for coming. Without the support of family and friends, relationships can be very hard work. I mean, let's be honest, who else would watch their 3 dogs and 2 cats when they want to go on vacation? Now I invite you all to raise your glass and let's toast to this wonderful bride and groom.